Welcome to Força Interculturale. I'm Mia Sally Correia.
And I'm Vince Bucci.
Tonight we have a very special guest, Katherine Bazin. Welcome, Katherine.
Thanks so much for having me.
Katherine is a university student who is off to McGill. She's won a scholarship and she is studying in the area of STEM, also known as science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. STEM is a global focus, and countries around the world are super competitive with regard to increasing study, as well as the professional innovation in those areas of science, technology, engineering, and math. In Canada, there has been an uptake in scholarships, and Katherine is a winner of the McCall-McBain Scholarship. She'll be studying at McGill University. Now, STEM calls for an inquisitive mind, as well as the critical thinking. We need the ability to ask why, and then ask why over and over again. In encouraging critical thinking in students, we're not just looking at the university levels, we're also going as young as students in primary schools. I haven't heard of any in Canada, but I do know that in the United States, there are elementary schools that focus on STEM. A child might think, oh, I'm not good at math, or I can't do science. But the reality is that if a child can put together pieces of a puzzle or can do basic recipes while helping mom or dad or a caregiver in the kitchen, that child can then take those essential skills and translate them into a study of a basic science. I, for one, am a good example of how that actually worked. When I was young, I didn't like science, I didn't like math, but I did study a social science. And these days, I have an interest in quantum physics, despite the fact that I did not take physics in high school. But I'm a lifelong learner. I love to read. There are a lot of resources available on YouTube and on websites. And so we can continuously improve our understanding of science, technology, engineering, and math by keeping an open mind, by asking why, and through critical thinking. It is very important not to accept things at face value, and instead to ask why or why not. There are primary schools in the United States, I don't know of any in Canada, that actually start children into that stream and get them to solve basic problems, to do puzzles, as I mentioned, and to build on those essential learning blocks so that they get to a point like Katherine, where they are entering a master's program on a scholarship, no less, and have the confidence that they can not only take in the new material, integrate it, but also then expand on that and hopefully add something to the discipline that they're studying.
Katherine is a chemistry student at the University of Manitoba. She co-leads communications for the Electrochemical Society Student Chapter, organizes educational and volunteer opportunities for her sorority, and sings alto in a community choir. Katherine also worked as a recreational support worker at a rehabilitation center supporting teens with disabilities. In addition, she is a workshop instructor for a science outreach program. She spent a summer assisting with research or electrochemical detection of chemoresistance in cancer. For her master's degree, Katherine will pursue a Master's of Science in Chemistry at McGill, focusing on electrochemistry for environmental and women's health applications.
Sure.
So who is Katherine? Tell us a bit about yourself and your family. Where did you grow up? And which schools did you attend? Do you have interests or hobbies outside of STEM?
Yeah, thanks for that question. So I am part of the Portuguese community here in Winnipeg. So I was born in Winnipeg, grew up here, and definitely connected to the Portuguese community because that's my family on my mom's side.
Yes.
And then my dad's side is French Canadian. So it's a little bit
nice.
about my family. I'm very close to my family, especially my grandparents on my mother's side. They're a very big, important part of my life. So They had a huge part in raising me and making me the woman that I am today, and I'm extremely grateful to them forever. And as Sally mentioned, spent a lot of time playing violin there at the Portuguese Association. It definitely made my avó, I think, pretty happy. Yeah, music is a huge part of my life, and though I don't play the violin as much anymore, I do still sing quite frequently, and I sing with Prairie Voices. They're a community choir here in Winnipeg, and they're fantastic. So.
Great.
Wow.
Great.
I want to be Catherine when I grow up. Who inspired you to study STEM? And who continues to inspire you today?
It's interesting. I don't always think that there's one person that inspired me to pursue STEM. But I did have a lot of people that encouraged me and encouraged my abilities and helped me to feel more confident in pursuing STEM. So many of those people were teachers at my high school. So I went to Mennonite Brethren Collegiate Institute.
Yes.
And they were phenomenal for preparing me and making me feel comfortable in STEM and giving me really creative ways to explore it as well. And now I think that I'm most inspired by the other women that I see in this field. I look up to
Yes.
my female professors a lot,
Yes.
especially the professor that I work under right now. She inspires me every day.
Yeah.
She's super innovative, and I've learned so much from her. So she's a big part of my my career for sure, I would say.
Great.
Yeah.
So, what's so special about STEM? What do you do in your day-to-day studies? And what are your areas of study? What kinds of tools do you use as you're studying?
So as much as I do love STEM, I do think it's special in a lot of ways because it's obviously so important for problem solving real world issues. But I also think it's maybe not so special in the way that there's so much creativity involved. And I think that if you are good at art, you have the potential to be great at STEM as well. Because it's all about like how what are the different ways you can think about a problem to understand it better and then come up with interesting solutions for it? So that's definitely a big part of it. But in my day-to-day life, there's a lot of reading that goes into it. So keeping up with scientific literature, what other people are doing is important because we're always trying to build up on the information that we already know as a scientific community. My research that I've worked on in the past is really interesting because I actually use a tool called electrochemistry to study biological samples. So it's very cool. And in the past, I've done things like study chemoresistance, but there's also some people in my lab that study things like antibiotic resistance, which is a really, pertinent and pressing global health issue.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, especially the way we're over prescribing antibiotics.
Yeah,
Things that aren't.
and if they're not taken responsibly as well, it can increase resistance. So yeah, understanding how to tackle that and understanding how we can reduce the number of deaths that occur because of the resistance.
Wow.
When we talk about continuous improvement and we're looking at antibiotics that kill bacteria, and the fact that there are bacterial strains that are resistant to antibiotics, we're looking at a continuous improvement of something that's already out there. Yes?
Yeah.
So innovation to me is something entirely new. It's that aha or eureka moment in the lab. Does that come from thinking about a problem in an entirely different way, or is it as a result of making something better? What do you think?
That's a good question. I mean, for this particular example, I just, even at the University of Manitoba, there are different ways that people are tackling the same problem. And a lot of the time, what's actually the most necessary is collaboration and having, the innovation of someone approaching something in a very different way that maybe wasn't thought of before, but then also the people who maybe are dealing with the current problem. And I actually think it's a combination of those things that are going to be really helpful. So for us in my lab, for example, we work on actually trying to detect the resistance because it could be damaging to maybe give people a lot of a drug when they're already going to be resistant to it, for example, or the bacteria will be resistant to it. But then in other cases, there's other people at the university who instead work on trying to work on how can we maybe modify the bacteria itself
Yeah.
to actually like allow it to be affected by the drug more strongly. So your question relates to something that's super important to me in science, which is the collaboration
Yeah,
aspect, I think.
collaboration.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good to hear. It's good to hear that that's happening.
Is STEM education meant only for high ability students? What degree are you pursuing at McGill, and where do you hope this will take you?
Yeah. So I don't think that STEM is for only high ability students. It also depends on what you mean by high ability. So for example, I think that hard work and motivation and discipline will outweigh talent any day. Personally, I actually don't consider myself naturally talented maybe at STEM, and I felt a lack of confidence growing up.
Yeah.
It was hard for me to feel like I was part of it or that I belonged in it. Largely because of the lack of representation, but also because just being a young girl in the classroom, there were maybe loud boys who kind of took the spotlight and were more allowed to explore things in a way that was very unapologetic. And we, as girls, sometimes took a backseat position in those things. So it was very hard for me to feel welcome in the field. Until I got into high school, where I had a lot of really supportive teachers and mentors. And it was really just the fact that I really wanted to understand it better and know it better and be able to solve problems that I believed in and that were important to me, that really motivated me to pursue STEM and get better at it, get better at understanding it, and helping myself feel better in it. And so that's why I'm really excited to be pursuing my master's in chemistry at McGill. And I'm really hoping that I can apply my knowledge to things like environmental issues and also important health issues relating to marginalized communities in healthcare, especially women's health is something that I'd love to explore more.
So I'm going to go a little off script.
Sure.
I know Sally's going to ask you the next question, but what drives you, or what has driven you to get involved and to get in deep and want to learn or find out about all, you know what I mean? Like what's driven you? Like, it's amazing, honestly.
Thank you so much. It's really about that I found problems that I was really passionate about. I've always been really passionate about the environment, and I've also taken a huge interest in health. My mom's always been really interested in health growing up, so I think I was maybe a bit inspired by her as well. And just being inquisitive about those things and trying to think of how can I contribute to a permanent solution, hopefully, to a lot of the things that are impending or affecting us, or even are just coming to light. So that's the main thing, and I never really considered myself a problem solver as a kid.
Yeah.
Puzzles didn't really interest me, to be honest. You could give me a Rubik's Cube and I'd be like, why do I have this? This is boring. But I'm very passionate about the real world and real world applications. And that's really what drives me.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
It is. It really is commendable.
Thank you.
The fact that you've chosen a non-traditional career path for women. I mean, I was a dabbler in a social science. It's still with me, but I didn't choose a hard science, and there were reasons for that. And here you are. Not only have you chosen it, but you're excelling in it. Why or why not would you recommend this as a career path for other young women who might be 10 years younger than you, or maybe only 5 years, or maybe older, but who are considering a change in career? What would you say to them about choosing something like this?
Yeah, it can be daunting at times. I don't think I felt it in my first years of university, but a little bit towards the end, the classes I was in were male dominated.
Yeah.
So I think about being one of maybe 2 girls in a classroom of 15. Or something like that, and it doesn't. I think we're getting better at just feeling comfortable in it, but it does sometimes take a little bit of a toll to just feel like you're the only one there, and what are people thinking about me being there?
Yes.
It takes, I think, a lot more courage for women to pursue it, of course, and one of my favorite jobs that I've ever worked is being a science workshop instructor.
Yeah.
And so I go into schools and I bring these really hands-on activities to students all around, kind of all around Winnipeg, and then also even a little bit outside. And I get to kind of facilitate things a little bit and see how younger girls who are, you know, in elementary school, middle school, are engaging with science, and to really try to encourage them in that way. And all I really have to say is don't doubt for a second that you belong, because our voices are so important in STEM and they've been
Yes.
left out for so long.
Yes, yes.
And that's had really serious implications, actually.
Yeah.
So it's in our best interest to be there for each other and be there for ourselves.
So we've heard a lot of mainstream media in the past few decades about the push for young women to pursue STEM. As a newbie, where do you see yourself in the next 4 years or beyond? And is there a way, in your opinion, of improving competence in STEM for all of us in society?
Well, it's funny that you asked this question, because I think if you were to ask me 4 years ago what I thought I'd be doing, I would give a pretty different answer compared to what I'm doing now. And I also wanted to always plan my life so much and just know exactly what I would be doing each year, each month, to try and achieve my dreams. But I'm honestly kind of at a stage of life now where I'm just very interested in exploring like all the things the world has to offer, and I know that I'll always be inspired by STEM especially, and by all the issues and problems that I see in the world that I want to be part of helping. So where I see myself in 4 years is hopefully just doing something that I'm passionate about and loving, likely in STEM.
Yeah.
Most likely in STEM. I'm in it pretty deep now, so.
Yeah.
And in terms of increasing, STEM competence in day-to-day life, I just be curious about things, and don't let the fact that maybe you haven't been in high school for years or decades stop you from just wanting to know anything that interests you in STEM. And just think critically, and think for yourself, and just try your best to understand the world around you.
Now we get to the interesting part of the conversation, which is where we ask, Vince and I, what advice do you have for us as we're launching this program, Força Interculturale, which is based upon a combination of the scientific method and cultural studies and sales. Vince is a sales guy by profession. What do you think we should be doing? What do you think we should be asking as we're trying to build intercultural literacy? What do you think? From your perspective as a hard scientist, what advice do you have for us?
Despite being I guess a traditional scientist.
Well-rounded one at that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I just love hearing from diverse voices. So people of all ages, all backgrounds, all walks of life, and all careers as well. Just shining a light on even people that maybe you wouldn't expect. I don't know. I wish you all the best. It seems like it's going to be really fun, and you're going to get to meet and talk to a lot of really interesting people. So,
Starting with you.
oh, thank you. I would say have fun and just get to the heart of what people are passionate about. That's always a good thing.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you,
so much.
Catherine.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for Força. I'm Mia Sally.
And I'm Vince Bucci.
Wishing you a good night.